What do I do in the intro?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
And welcome back to Between the Pylons, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm John Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And guys, we have a great show for you today. We are talking about the AFC North this week. So we're going to break down the AFC North, give you everything there is to know about the AFC North, what we think about some prop bets that I have for you. You don't know about them yet, so I'm really excited to bring that up with you. And then we're going to finish the show off with a little bit of top five. And this time we are doing what we did last week with a top five offensive and defensive players in the AFC North. So we liked it so much last week, we're bringing it back for
I'm
this
just
week.
Sad that I can't wear the right jersey. I'm behind her.
I got my Roethlisberger, so I'm in the right division this time for once, right?
It happens.
All right, so before we get to all that, guys, we do have to talk about some news and notes. And, you know, we went back and forth on if we wanted to bring up all the things that are going on in the world. And we just felt like, you know, it'd be silly not to bring it up because it's so, I mean, it's everywhere and it's everything right now. And it's so sad to see the way the world's gone. We just want to say that we both are in full support of the Black Lives Matter movement. We're in full support of equality for all men, regardless of race, gender, you know, ethnicity, anything like that. So, you know, and we're not gonna spend a whole lot of time on this. We don't want that to be the show this week, but we felt like it was important. How can we do this show honestly and not at least bring it up?
Yeah, in today's day and age, you want to be on the right side of history and you want your voice to be spoken, and we want to be in support of every single person that has a voice right now and is using it in the right ways.
Yeah.
Equality for all. We live in a world, sadly, where racism is prevalent, and every day we need to make moves forward to totally diminish it.
Yeah. No,
as best we can. And I am truly excited to see the first kickoff, the first game. Every single player will be kneeling, I imagine.
I hope so.
And in full unity, and it will be one of the best ways that we can spread a message of love. That's what we need.
No, I absolutely agree. I'm in full support as well. And, you know, with all this going on, I think it's a good time to look at all the good things that we're seeing the players do, you know, and this is an NFL podcast, but not just NFL, NBA, MLB. There's so much good going on from these guys who have so much, and they're giving back as much as you can. And I don't have a list of names right now, but just off the top of my head, Tyrann Mathieu is giving away rent money to people in need who were affected by COVID. You see Michael Thomas, who's giving, I believe he gave like $2.3 million to help people out to different causes. And that's the part that we want to focus on as fans of people. I mean, we're fans of these people and we support their causes, and to see them, you know, trying to make a change in a positive way. The best thing we can get out of this is to see positive change. And like you said with kneeling, that's all we want. We want positive change, and that's all we can support right now. All right, guys, let's move on to some maybe a little bit lighter news for the rest of the show. That's what we really want to do. Have a little bit of fun here and talk some football. The first thing we have to talk about, right? Dalvin Cook came
lighter
out.
news? That's horrible.
It's lighter news, trust me.
No,
Dalvin Cook is going to probably hold out. He wants CMC money. He wants to be paid like Christian McCaffrey. Well, first of all, because there's a couple of levels to this, and we'll kind of break it down level by level. What's your first reaction? Because as a Vikings fan, obviously.
I'm sad. We do not have money. As a Vikings fan, I realize that if the NFL salary cap goes down, we're in the red. We do not have money. We cannot allocate anymore to Dalvin. And Dalvin is one of the biggest factors on our team for success. We need him if we're going to have anything. I feel so bad wearing a Lions jersey saying this now. I feel so bad.
All right, so
no, we need him, but where's the money coming from?
I couldn't agree more. So
just wait, Dalvin.
Yeah, no. Please. So I want to give just a little bit of a personal thing. I actually got a text from my dad, who is a diehard Dolphins fan, and just that, like, he doesn't really follow the rest of the NFL very much. He watches as many Dolphins games as he can. He's that type of fan, right? I don't think he's ever listened to a show, so he's never gonna hear this. But he texted me and he said we should trade for Dalvin Cook. Basically, it was the argument, or we should get Dalvin Cook. I think he got misinformation thinking he got cut or whatever. That's how little he knows, just to be clear. And I kind of said, first of all, Dalvin Cook is not gonna take anything less than top dollar, and the Vikings are gonna have have to pay him, and this is me telling my dad, the Vikings are going to have to pay him because Dalvin Cook was their offense last year.
Yeah.
And to bring that, just kind of explain that was my gut reaction, right? So that was my initial reaction to hearing this news and seeing everything that's going on. And I mean, I think that's kind of echoes what you said a little bit. That they have to pay him. They have to figure out something. The second level that I mentioned is the fact that there are reports that they can't pay him, or that the CBA is seriously discouraging Dalvin Cook from entering a holdout because they're saying that it can directly affect his ability to reach unrestricted free agency next year. He was signed, I believe, a second-round pick, so he has a 4-year contract. This year is his 4th year. So he either plays on a low deal, gets into free agency, and makes that money no matter what, or he holds out and there's a possibility he's under contract for again next year. There's a lot of ways this can go. We saw the Le'Veon Bell fiasco that was handled. I mean, it was handled the best way the Patriots or the Steelers could handle it, considering they weren't going to pay the running back. They were in a little bit of a better position because they didn't have. I mean, it didn't feel like their entire offense ran behind Le'Veon Bell. It was a huge proponent, but I mean, the Vikings, their entire offense is based off the power, the run, and then what they can do off the run. Yeah,
I think you can compare the Vikings and the Tennessee Titans with the importance of running back in their system. I think there are certain times where you need to acknowledge what your team is about, what your forte is, and you have to pay these guys.
Yeah. Cook has all the leverage.
And if we lose Cook, what do we have? We have a subpar offensive line. We have Kirk Cousins who can sometimes do it, but we have an aging Adam Thielen. And I'm being what's the word? Overly harsh right now. I mean, I'm painting a bad picture. We have a rookie, Justin Jefferson. Our third wide receiver is Tajay Sharp. At the end of the day, this offense cannot win without a good running game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's what they did last year, and they did it very well last year.
Yeah, we want to run the ball down your throat and play good defense.
I think the other part of this, and I wanted to get your thoughts, I just said I do think Dalvin Cook has a lot of negotiating power, right? Like we said, we spelled that out. The other part of this is Dalvin Cook's first season as a healthy running back was last year. I mean, he didn't finish. I mean, he's had one Pro Bowl. He's been in the league 3 years. He's been the same level of talented, but he got hurt. So, I mean, that just is what it is. He wasn't able to finish the 2017 and 2018 season. I think that goes in the conversation when you're talking about paying a guy at the running back position specifically.
So do you realistically think, though, that the Vikings can lose Dalvin and in some way, I mean, how do we recover from that? Listen, when we did this Kirk thing, it was a Super Bowl window. I'm not talking a playoff window. I'm not talking a rebuild good team now. We went to the NFC Championship game with Case Keenum, brought on Kirk Cousins. Yeah. The buzz was through the roof, missed the playoffs the next year. This past year, good year, I would say. We made it to the divisional round, and we lost whatever it was.
You did well, yeah.
It was a good year, but at the end of the day, when we got Kirk Cousins, it was supposed to get a Lombardi trophy.
And that's not over. That window's not over.
Without Dalvin, it's over.
So do you want me to wear my analyst hat or my friend hat, and where I can talk you into the right, talk you off the cliff a little bit?
I get it. I know what you want. You stand by it. You look at the business aspect of not paying a running back, and I see all sides of it. But if you're at a Super Bowl window and this is it, Alexander Mattison isn't Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, he's good. He's fine. I think there's a lot
I don't think we can run our power runs.
I absolutely agree. I mean, again, do you want me to wear my friendship hat and tell you why this could be okay with the scenario that I could argue for, or do you want me to be a little bit more realistic?
Give me the realistic. I want to.
Yeah, I think the Vikings. I think the Vikings have to pay Dalvin Cook. I think the Vikings have to figure it out, and I don't see how the Vikings can be incredibly competitive without him. At this point, the way they're built, the way they've built their offense, I don't see how they can be competitive. And the unfortunate part is the way they built their offense is not built to pay a running back. I mean, they're paying their quarterback top dollar. They're paying their wide receiver. They're paying guys. I mean, they have guys all over the field that they're paying a lot of money to. And at a certain point, you have to decide where you want to allocate your funds. I mean, you're paying Kirk Cousins like a top 10 quarterback in the league. He is that sometimes, but he's not that a lot of times too. And it's a tough situation when you look at it from a team building standpoint, from how you want to build your team and the way you have to live within the cap and decide which positions get the highest value put into them. Yeah, that's tough to look at the Vikings and say they need to put a lot of money into the running back position, but the way they play on the field, they have to. They're in a tough spot. I'm not gonna lie to you, especially with my analyst hat on. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, I mean, it's scary because I acknowledged a while ago that with restructuring Kirk's contract, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I'm sure we can look it up after the fact and figure it out. It is somewhere in the $40 million range in 2 years on his hit because we were able to backload it.
Yep.
He's not going to be on roster. I'm sorry. I'll say
You don't
it
think
first.
so?
No.
I think that's a little bit of a hot take.
He's going to be getting $40-something million from us.
I'm going to be honest. I think that's a little bit of a hot take, and you're not saying like it is.
Is it because the cap goes up?
The cap goes up, yeah, and they restructured the deal once. They can restructure it again as long as Kurt's getting that money. Kirk's a smart guy. He knows he's in a good situation.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. His agent's the best guy in the world. He's 0-9 on Monday Night Football games and got.
I get it, but I'm saying Kirk Cousins is a smart guy. He knows how the system works. He knows he's getting that money. So if the Vikings want to put off paying him for fucking ever, it doesn't matter to him. He doesn't care when he gets it. He'll restructure it. He'll work with the team however he has to. Doesn't matter. So
I think that the competitor inside of him realizes, dang, this is hurting my guys.
Exactly.
Let's get them some money.
So he's still getting as much money as he possibly can in the market that he's in, and he's gonna work it around. It doesn't matter if he gets his $12 million in 2020 or 2025. It does not matter to him.
I know
he
it's
has
so
enough
easy
money
for
in the
you
bank.
to say that looking outside in. Me as a Vikings fan is scared because
I see the scenario you're worried about.
I don't want to be beat down in the NFC North all the time.
Yeah, I get it. It's a tough division. It's a tough place to live. I get that. That's a tough situation all the way around. I think you're worrying about the wrong thing though. I don't think Kirk Cousins' contract. I mean, that is what it is, but they'll restructure it. That always happens. I feel like.
Bro, we have zero cap. That is totally one of the main reasons. Him, Anthony Barr. We just let go of Everson. We lost Trey Waynes. I mean, I can't tell you how many people we are going to lose in the future. Yeah. We got to sign Daniil. Daniil Hunter is one of the best young defensive ends in the league.
Look, I absolutely agree. And if you want me to be perfectly honest, I think you missed your window. I mean, I do, and I know
I do too.
I know that sucks to hear, and
that's what I said.
For a team that looks like they can be competitive, it does feel like they've lost their window. But at the same time, that also happens when we talk about the NFL. We're two people that follow it 24/7. We're really into it. Obviously, we're very into it. And we felt all the hype from the 2018 season that was a little bit of a letdown. They missed the playoffs, and then this year they were really good. Yes, they were 6th seed in their division. They had a tough road in the playoffs, but they win week 1 against they beat the Saints in the second week. Who did they beat in the first week?
No, we didn't make a championship. It was Saints lose to 49ers.
That's what it was. Yeah. Okay, so you had to play the Saints and the 49ers back to back. So I mean that's a tough road as well.
NFC is gruesome. I get that.
Yeah. So there's an argument to be made that last year in the NFC you were the 3rd best team in the NFC. So if you can be that and you can grow on that, there's room to grow. There's room to. There's an argument to be made that they can come back. Is what I'm trying to say.
How I always play my fanship. I always stay internalized and undersell because I like to be excited. Because there's been times in the past where I've been led on to believe that we're going to be the stuff, and then something like Blair Walsh missing a 27-yard kick causes me to walk straight out of B-dubs with my head down.
I remember. Hey, and you still wouldn't want Justin Tucker. I know.
I don't want to open my heart. I don't want to open my heart for future pain.
For those of you listening and watching that didn't get that reference, that's from an argument we had a couple weeks ago. Check it out on YouTube if you want to know. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about the AFC North this week. So we're going to go team by team, talk about how much they're over under this year, what changed, what we expect from them week by week. We're going to start with the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And the Steelers had a pretty okay offseason. They signed Eric Ebron. They add Derek Watt, which is just interesting because they have TJ Watt in their team, so they got that fullback.
Go get JJ.
They got Bud Dupree. I mean, they added Zach Banner, who's kind of a journeyman offensive tackle at this point in his career. So they made moves. They added some players. They made one of my least favorite second-round picks this year, which you hate me for.
No, I don't.
Yeah, but you don't like Chase. You like Chase Claypool, right?
No.
You not Chase? Okay, cool. Who was I arguing with then?
Well, I mean, I like I see the upside there.
Okay.
I do.
So
it was blown through the roof.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Chase Claypool fan. They take Chase Claypool with this in the second round at picking 49 overall. Was not a fan of that pick, but that is what it is. That was their first pick. They traded their first round pick to the Dolphins to get Minka Fitzpatrick, which was a great deal. They end up getting Anthony McFarland in the fourth round, which I think could be a steal. I think that's something to think about if you're a fantasy guy. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but I think that's one of those guys that's going to be like available with the last pick, and he's a draft and stash type of prospect to me. Alex Highsmith in they drafted an offensive lineman out of Charlotte, and it's the Steelers, so you just know he's going to be really good. That's just how that goes.
They hit with linemen.
Yeah. So this is a team that loses their quarterback in week 1. Ends up going through the year with a bunch of scrubs at quarterback. They had Mason Rudolph who struggled a lot last year. They end up putting I believe he got hurt, but they also benched him at times. It was a tough year for the Steelers, but they were able to squeeze out a lot of victories. They ended up winning games with Duck Hodges, an undrafted rookie, which was I think the first time that team had ever started an undrafted rookie was last year at quarterback position. I mean, they had a tumultuous year. But, I mean, they were still able to bring it out. They were still able to be competitive at Week 16. They were one or two plays away from being in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's
the
how
AFC
close they were. To it.
Yeah, so what do you think about when you think about the Steelers this year?
The jersey you're wearing, Ben Roethlisberger. I know you look at age a lot, and I can't blame you. I mean, as guys get older, their play decreases. But the year before Big Ben got hurt, the Steelers were a competitor in the AFC. They were a top dog. They were the big dog. And I think when you have Mike Tomlin at coach, looking at what he did last year really opened my eyes to how good of a coach he is and how good he is at rallying a locker room. Also, add in the fact that he was able to keep Antonio Brown somehow sane for however many seasons he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Credit to Mike Tomlin. And I think when you add Big Ben back, hopefully it saves Juju. Hopefully you can get James Conner going in the running game. Hopefully your offensive line stays healthy. Good young defense. T.J. Watt is a dog.
We're going to get to it. I mean, we have a couple of players on defense that are going to be talked about from this team. Their defense is still really good.
Because it
could 9.5.
See, I just talked them up, and then it's like, I would not touch that bet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know where I would go with that.
Ravens win the division.
Wait, Ravens, do you want to look up their schedule? Because I feel like that's...
I'll look it up.
I'll talk. I do want to first echo what you said about Mike Tomlin. I was somebody who was actually on Mike Tomlin's ass, I believe, probably this time last year, or not this time, but during the season, during the 2018 season, I was saying that he should probably get fired. That's kind of where I was at. I felt like he was kind of getting carried, and I was so wrong. I mean, just from that take to now, I look back and I look at, wow, he handled the craziness of an AB. He handled Le'Veon Bell and all of his antics in the same locker room. He dealt with all that. He dealt with Roethlisberger, who, let's face it, is not the most popular guy in the NFL. And he was able to win games at that time with not the greatest defense. And now we look back in a couple of years, they've been able to turn over the roster. Their defense is really good, and their offensive line is deteriorating a little bit, but it's still good. I mean, 2 years ago, it was probably one of the best offensive lines in the league. Now it's not there, but it's still, in that conversation for top 10, top 15. So you look at the Steelers, and it's like there's a lot of things to like. There's a lot of things to think. This is a team that was 0-2 and starting last year, and I was looking at them as a team that was going to be picking the top 10, top 5, because I thought they were just going to be done with after losing Roethlisberger. This is 2019. I've consistently underestimated this team and this coach and their ability to win tough games and win the way the Steelers seem to always pull victories out. I'm not going to say they can't do it. Let's listen to their schedule. Let's listen to their schedule.
They play the NFC East.
Okay.
So we're talking they got to play the Giants, the Jets, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Redskins, and the Eagles. They also play the AFC South. This is the entire AFC North. Plays AFC South and NFC East. So, I mean, open it up with the Giants.
Okay.
Win.
Yep.
The Broncos. Hard game.
Yeah, I think
that's one of their position-based games that they got to play.
Absolutely.
The Texans.
I think that's a win. I mean, I do. I think the Texans are going to have a down year this year. That's just me, though.
Titans.
We'll see. Titans, that's a tough one. We'll see.
Eagles,
that's a tough one. We'll see.
Browns.
That's a tough one. We'll see.
Ravens.
God, that's the answer for all of these.
Exactly. They go from the Titans to the Eagles to the Browns to the Ravens, to the Cowboys. That is a rough stretch.
That's a rough road, and it's one of those things where I could see them going 5-2 out of that, and I could see them going 2-5 out of that. I mean,
then they go Bengals, Jaguars. That's a good little stretch. You got to play the Ravens again, the Redskins, the Bills, the Bengals, the Colts, and the Browns again.
Okay.
So it's a hard division.
So it sounds like their schedules are all on the front side. Like it's really hard at the beginning, and then it cools off a little bit.
But you know how it goes for a team at the beginning. If you start out 2-4, your odds of making the playoffs.
Yeah, they're so slim. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. So I'll go under just because I think 9-7 sounds like that. Their schedule sounds like a 9-7 team. But that's a tough one. I don't think I would bet that either.
I go under as well.
Yep.
I'm going to be once again on the Cleveland Browns hype train, so I got to put them as under.
Oh, you're going Cleveland Browns this year. Let's see it. All right.
I have to.
We got to talk about the Ravens next, obviously. I cannot believe you're not wearing the jersey you were wearing last week.
I messed up. I should have worn the Lamar. Go watch that video, by the way. We really need the views and likes. Thank you. Should have worn the Lamar. I got Barry Sanders. And I'm sure next week we're probably going to talk about the NFC North, too.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, you know? That's how it goes.
He messed it up again. Oh, that's hilarious. All right. With the Ravens over-under is 11.5. I would pound that over. I'm just going to state it right now. I think they're over. I think this team...
11.5 over?
11.5, I'm going to say over. That's a tough one.
You see no regression from the read option. You don't think that people catch on a bit? You
I
think
get
that
it.
they're firing?
I get all the arguments. And I'm going to go through the players they've added. I mean, we look at...
Oh, they got a good draft.
They re-signed Matthew Judon. We knew that, right? They get Derek Wolfe. They add a Jimmy Smith. They add an Anthony Levine, who's an underrated safety who's been around the NFL a little bit. So their offseason wasn't great, but in the draft they just absolutely killed it. They get Patrick Queen in the first round, one of my favorite linebackers. I thought he was a top 20 pick for sure. Then they go J.K. Dobbins, my favorite wide receiver, or my favorite running back in the draft. Then in the third round they get Justin Mabaduke, a defensive tackle out of Texas. Matabuki, thank you.
I like him.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch him, so I don't know. Still they had they're 4 third-round picks. So listen to me just for a second here. Devin Duvernay, wide receiver out of Texas, one of my favorite wide receivers. Yeah. He was my guy. He was one of my favorite guys. Then they get Malik Harrison, linebacker of Ohio State, who's really underrated, really good.
I thought he was good.
Tyree Phillips, guard out of Mississippi State. They killed this draft, in my opinion. They took this draft and absolutely murdered it. I thought they did so good. Oh God, I forgot. I'm sorry.
That wasn't my guy.
James Prochet, a 6th-round pick, was your guy. I thought they absolutely killed this draft. And I look at them and I say, there's so many different things they can do. Yes, I get it. The read option is always kind of been looked at like a gimmick in the NFL. It never seems to last like as an offense that lasts. But I feel like you can say that about a lot of things in the NFL. They can still they rebranded themselves once. They can add to this offense and things can get moved around. At the end of the day, I look at this team. Think about this: Lamar Jackson at the pistol formation. You have Mark Andrews to your left. You have Mark Ingram to your right, and you have J.K. Dobbins behind you. All of which great pass catchers. All of them can run the ball, and all of them can block. So
you got there, Hollywood running a streak.
Then you have Hollywood on the right side and Devin Duvernay on the left, both sub 4.4 guys. I mean, and I believe Hollywood's sub 4.3. I mean,
yeah,
he's fast as shit. Yeah, I don't remember his exact 40 time, but ridiculous speed. I don't know how do you stop that. You need such a specific. You just need guys on the outside that are speedsters that can handle those speed. You need 2 of them. Then you need to be able to fill the box, and you need to have athletes that can also hit. Because you have to have guys that can keep up with Lamar Jackson if Lamar Jackson keeps it, and you have to have guys that can keep up with the J.K. Dobbins and the Mark Ingrams. There's just so many different things that I see with this offense. I've really considered doing a video just on the different formations that I want to see from the Ravens this year.
That's you not even touching the defense.
It's me not even touching the defense.
Calais Campbell. They have Marlon Humphrey. They have Marcus Peters. They have Earl Thomas, depending on all the situations we know ongoing.
Yes.
Patrick Queen, like you said, added. These guys are dogs. I was playing devil's advocate. I'm going to keep doing it just a little bit because I think when you look at the way that they exited the playoffs, there may be some proof in the pudding there as a formula on how Dean Pease showed how to stop the read option in Lamar. They got in his head. The Titans got up early, and they had to abandon their read option. They weren't able. They shouldn't have done that.
I get that, but I feel like that's always been the way to beat
like I said,
that type of team.
I'm playing. Oh, everyone knows how to stop the read option. At the end of the day, you can't stop Lamar, though. It's Lamar.
Exactly. And to be fair, the Titans are one of those teams they have the pieces to beat the Ravens. They are one of the few teams in the NFL that match up really well against the Ravens. I feel like there's not a lot of other teams that do that.
I would say the Chiefs solely based on offense,
Yeah,
solely based on an absolute shootout.
The Chiefs can keep up with them, right? And that's just one of the things. The Chiefs are going to match up against anybody because Patrick Mahomes can always score at any point. Yeah. And then you look around the rest of the NFL. I don't know. There's a lot of teams that I would say maybe like the Steelers are one of those teams where like I don't think they can match up against the Ravens.
I say all that to say that I think if you go by and look at every single game for the Ravens, they're the favorite. I put the over.
Yeah, I get it. And it's one of those things where we're talking about it in June, and we understand that this is all on paper. And I get that when you get into the games, it gets a little bit murky. Winning 12 games in the NFL is hard. It's really, really, really hard. And to put the over and to pick the over at 12, that's tough. It's tough to bet on that. You're saying they can only lose 4 games the entire year? I mean, shit, man. That's one injury from Lamar, and you lost that bet, right? And that's not saying a lot. Like that could happen. But man, I just look at this team, and I just don't see any weaknesses, man. I really don't right now.
It's the way that Lamar is. Yeah. As long as he stays healthy, the way that he plays, there is no way that you can stop him. You just can't.
I absolutely agree. Is there anything else you want to say on the Ravens? I feel like we just
division winners.
Division winners, absolutely. So Browns here, right? Their over under is 8-5. I do want to talk about a couple of guys they added in free agency.
So 8.5.
8.5. Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry, I said 8-5. No, my bad. Good. I did the little dash instead of a period. All right. So they added Case Keenum to be the backup, which I actually love. That's an underrated move. Spend $18 million on Case Keenum. That's a good deal to get a guy who's gonna be
save your season.
Yeah, exactly. Because Case Keenum can play. I mean, we talked about it earlier. He brought the Viking. He didn't bring the Viking. He was on that team that brought the Vikings to the AFC Championship, right? All right. So they add Jack Conklin. They add Austin Hooper. I mean, these are big signings. Carl Joseph, absolutely. These are big moves. They went out and got some guys, and then in the draft, they addressed the offensive line in the first round with Jedrick Wills. They get Grant Delpit, one of the more tumultuous picks in the draft. There are a lot of arguments on if he's going to be good or not. I think we disagree, right?
I was there for it.
You were there for it. I wasn't.
I said that I think if you have one good year on film and you have one bad year on film, you still have, and it's better than good. He was the best player in college football that year. Yeah. So, I mean, there's something to it.
Absolutely. Jordan Elliott, defensive tackle out of Missouri in the 3rd round. That looks like a good pick right now. You just look at this team, the players they added, what they can do, and then we talk about the team that they already have, right? Like, I mean, we know about the Odells. We know about the Jarvis Landrys. Their running game is awesome. I mean, they have a 2-headed monster. They have Chubb and Hunt. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Keeping Cream
was good for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of those things where it's like it's tough to look at this team and say they're not going to be good on paper. But we've watched it the past couple of years. I mean,
they were supposed to be good on paper for the past 2 years.
Yeah, right. So it's just a strange kind of thing. I didn't like that they changed their coach. And granted, I didn't agree with the addition of Kitchens originally. Like, I didn't agree with hiring Kitchens. I don't understand firing Kitchens after one season when you have a rookie quarterback who's now having to learn his 3rd system in 3 years. Push it back another year on success.
I want people to get off of Baker.
Yeah, no, I'm not on Baker's ass. I'm not. I don't blame Baker.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like he's a guy. I love his personality. I love his grit, and he plays well. Yeah, he was under a lot of pressure last year. He struggled, and it wasn't pretty at times. And now he's going into his 3rd year, and he's gonna get villainized. He's gonna get shit on essentially if he's not really, really good with the weapons he has around him. And I get that. But we talk about all the weapons, and then you look at the offensive line, and it was like especially last year, it's like you get why he struggled. And then we go into this year, and it's like, well, this is his 3rd offense in 3 years. I mean, that's tough. That's tough to do.
But at a certain point,
there's no excuses.
Yeah, I mean,
I get it.
No, I understand.
I can
both
say
sides
all that.
Of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm pro Baker though. I am pro Cleveland. I love their defense. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward. I'm blanking on their linebackers. They have a really good core.
Yeah, no,
I really think so. Greedy Williams, that's a guy last year who was playing really good for them at their 2 spot. Yep. If Grant Delpit can open up and start doing that stuff for them, and then you have the offense: Odell, Jarvis, Austin Hooper.
Man, it sounds dirty, doesn't it? Right?
You fixed your tackles. Your tackles were the weakest spot on your team.
Yeah.
You got a guy who wasn't even supposed to fall to you in the first place, and then you also signed Jack Conklin.
Yeah.
I think they killed it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. On paper, it looks great, and I still look at this team as a team that, like, I know the exact offense they're going to run. I feel like it's going to be a little bit boring compared to like some of the other teams, especially in their own division. I'm a little bit nervous about that. I'm nervous for this team, man. 8.5 over under is tough. I'm going to say under. Just because if you're talking about betting on the Browns, maybe don't bet on the Browns.
Over.
You're going to get, and I get that. I do.
I think that they can finally crack the playoffs.
Yeah.
I do. With the expansion, with the way that it goes, with their division, they get to beat up on the Bengals. I'm assuming they can split with the Steelers at least,
they should be able to beat the Steelers.
Ravens, we can go ahead and count the sweep there. But, you know, they get to go play the NFC East. They can take out some dogs there.
Yeah, no.
Next thing you know, you get 9-10 wins, you're in.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It would not surprise me a bit if they're over. I just look at them and I'm like, I'm going to go under for now. That's kind of where I'm at.
You don't bet on Cleveland.
Absolutely. All right, so last team in this division, guys we have to talk about, the first picks in the draft.
The guys we have to talk about.
Oh, we got to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, right?
I think it's exciting.
I'm excited to see Joe Burrow, man.
No, you did not sound excited.
I'm excited. I genuinely am. I don't care about the rest of their team. Joe Burrow is one of my favorite college quarterbacks that I've ever watched. He's just so much fun to watch, in my opinion, and I'm so excited to see what he can do in
I think he's in for a rough year.
Oh, yes, he is. But, I mean, we saw what he could do behind LSU didn't have the greatest offensive line last year. It was okay, but it wasn't great. He was running for his life a lot in the SEC. I'm fine. I think it's gonna be fun to watch. I'm not saying they're gonna be good. Their over under is 5.5, and we can get into all their additions.
Said the same thing last year with Kyler. We recognized that they were not gonna have a good year.
Yeah,
but they would be exciting.
Yeah, and they were.
And
Kyler Murray. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe in Joe Burrow is where I'm gonna sit with it. And could they could absolutely win 6 games. They could absolutely win 6 games. I don't think that's hard to say. And let's just go through the guys they've added.
Smashing the over.
I'm not smashing it. I'm subtly hitting the over. Yes.
Okay.
So it's like it's like blackjack and you're at like 16 and it's like I've hit every other time. Hit. Yeah. All right. So Mackenzie Alexander. They added Trey Waynes. They basically added the Vikings cornerbacks. They add GD Reader. Those are the big names. Von Bell's another name out there. So they really addressed their secondary and free agency. And then of course in the draft we talked about Joe Burrow. I liked it. In the second round, the first pick in the second round, they go after T. Higgins. They get Logan Wilson in the third round. That pick was surprising because Zach Bond was sitting there, and they didn't take Zach Bond. That was a little bit of a surprise to me. But it's another linebacker, and they play similar type of players, so it was just strange. And then you move on the rest of the picks, whatever. But you
got Burrow, you got T. Higgins.
There's moves. You got AJ Green. We forget about that. But
if we can see him come back to the way that he was. I'm serious. I
know
you're done on him. Top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
I do this all the time. I always set my expectations lower. I need to see it recently. You're absolutely right. And
buy into the hype.
Man, at the end of the day, I'm right more than I'm wrong when I discount the older players.
You hedge your bets and play safe.
I hedge my bets on older players.
And
when I get surprised, like Mark Ingram surprised me last year, right? I love it. I want to see them surprise me. That's great. But more often than not, they let you down. I feel like
I'd say a 1 out of 10 thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I look at the Bengals. They're not going to be relevant, right? They're just going to be fun to watch. I think that's
Jonah Williams back.
They get Jonah Williams back, so they get another
maybe he can be their true star.
Yeah.
Stud at left tackle. You have Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
No, it's not pretty.
They have pieces. They do. I mean, they were not expecting.
Carl Lawson, Geno Atkins on the defensive line.
The other part of this that I feel like we kind of lose sight of. Is Zach Taylor the guy? Do we believe in Zach Taylor the coach?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. Because we didn't.
I thought he was one of those guys who had I know that guy, so I should be this guy.
And we didn't like the hire when it happened. Neither of us did. It happens, and then we're looking at it, and it's like, man, excuse me, I burped a little bit. I don't get it.
You're good.
Okay, I don't get it. I didn't think he didn't do anything for his team last year. Obviously, we're gonna see this year. It would not surprise me a bit if they let go of Zach Taylor and move on from him, and then that just starts to scare me with Joe Burrow. And it's like, man, I mean, we watched it. Joe Burrow was with LSU in 2019 too. In 2018 too. It took him a year. It took him a year to get used to the offense and become the guy he's become. It's okay for these young players to take a year.
I'm not calling for Zach Taylor's head though.
I'm not either.
I agree with the way that the Panthers have taken this coaching process.
Yeah.
I want the Bengals to do the same. I want them to give Zach Taylor time.
Every opportunity to succeed.
If you do a rebuild, please just do it right, because if you do a 3-year rebuild, scrap it. No, that didn't work because we didn't somehow win the Super Bowl in 2 years, 3 years. Stop.
I absolutely agree. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I totally agree. I'm just saying when you talk about the over-under,
we don't think he's the guy.
Yeah. When you talk about the over-under, when you talk about the team, a lot of that runs through the head coach, and it's just nerve-wracking for a head coach who's never proven anything to anybody really.
I'm gonna say under.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit the over very subtly. This is this is blackjack. I have 16. I'm looking at 8 from the dealer.
They're going to be under. They're going to be a top 5 pick, and they're going to snag Burrow's man, Jamar Chase.
Okay. I think
that's how you build a team around it.
Yeah. I don't hate it. At all. That's awesome. All right, so we're going to move on from that, and we're going to keep going with the prop bet conversation, right? So I have a couple conversations for you, and this is literally just straight from mybookie.com of some prop bets that I want to talk about. The first one is who will have the worst schedule, or the worst record at the end of the year. And there's a couple different ones I want to bring up, and a lot of this bet, when you're betting on picks like that, you're just trying to get the most money for a true gamble. So
where do the odds
exactly where the favorite? Right. So Jacksonville at 225, Carolina Panthers at plus 600. By the way, for anybody watching or listening who doesn't know, when I say plus 600, that's if you bet $100, you win $600, right? So just keep that kind of, and that's pretty much the same for everything when we keep going through here.
The higher the plus, the more money you get.
Exactly. So Washington Redskins at plus 550, the Cincinnati Bengals at plus 650. So you take the kind of safer bet.
Washington would be
Yeah. So I want to go down here. Where's the kind of like the sexy pick where it's not a team that people are looking to be absolutely trash, but if you put $10 to $20 on it, you could win a good bit of money on it. So,
Arizona Cardinals at plus 2,800 pops off the screen to me. I'll say it. I said it. They have nobody on defense.
Okay. Yeah.
Their best player on defense is a rookie.
They're in a really, really tough division, and I can't hate on it. I feel like they're going in the right direction, but I'm not going to hate on it.
Are they favored to beat the 49ers even once? No. Are they favored to beat the Seattle Seahawks? No.
They're not going to beat they're not going to beat the Rams. I don't even think they beat the Rams.
So we're talking and that's 6 losses right there. I'm just saying if their system still needs a little bit more time to get going, it didn't pan out as much.
I look at Chicago at 3,300. I think that's one that's a sexy pick.
Chicago's 33.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's
a
better
good
than
one.
The Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one.
Trubomsky, yeah.
Because I mean, you look at the team; they should win some games, but I mean, it wouldn't shock me if the wheels fell off and they were just absolute trash this year. A couple other ones: Atlanta Falcons. They've been struggling for a while. Do the wheels fall off? It looked like it was happening last year. That's a 2,200. So actually, worse odds for you. And then Houston Texans are the last one I want to mention. Again, I wouldn't bet on that one because I don't believe Deshaun Watson would let that happen.
He won't let it happen.
Yeah, I think Watson's good for 6 or 7 wins, I feel like. So that's just kind of where I'm at there. But yeah, I felt like that was an interesting conversation.
What do you think the worst record entails? How bad is bad? The Bengals with
2 wins. Two wins. I think you have to have 2 wins to be in the conversation.
Okay, Cardinals will be better than a 2-win. Then.
Yeah,
so they're not going to be the dead worst.
Yeah, but safe. We're also talking about like what can I throw $30 on?
That's why
and just get and it's a lottery ticket,
the
right?
odds meet with Arizona.
Exactly. Yeah,
they kind of Washington's the sure bet. I think they're going to be trash.
Yeah, because if you bet $100 on Washington, you're winning $550, and it's like that's not a bad deal. And we think they're going to be trash. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they're not going to be good, but also, I mean, we were looking last year, the Dolphins were the sure bet to be the worst team in football. They won 5 games. So it's always crazy. There's always like surprises in the NFL. We never know. So I'm going to move on. A couple other things I wanted to bring up here, just as over-unders. We're going to talk about quarterbacks' yards, right? So they're over-under on yards. And you can actually bet on this, and it's crazy. Matt Ryan at 3,950 yards for the season. Over. I agree with that. Their entire team has to be in
Matt Ryan has always been consistently a really good quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Really good.
And look at their weapons. I mean, they have to be over, right? That's the only way they can win games.
I'm not saying that they're going to win the games. I'm saying they can win 6 or 7 games and still have them sling the rock.
You can get 350 yards a game and not win.
Matt Stafford's done.
Yeah, absolutely. Lamar Jackson at 44,550.
Passing
Passing only, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't think he's passes.
No.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I could see him going for 1,000 and 2,500. I think, and that's a record-breaking season. 2,500 passing, 1,000 rushing.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him to get into 3,000 and 1,000. That wouldn't surprise me a bit.
That's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one that I really liked and something I would bet on. I really would. Drew Lock at 3,199. So basically, he has to throw for 3,200 yards to hit the over.
If you buy that he's the starter, he is the starter.
I buy that he's the starter.
You can't ever bet on someone getting hurt necessarily. So
yeah. I buy that he's the starter. I buy into the Jerry Jeudy. I buy into Cortland Sutton. I buy into Noah Fant. I mean, and I buy into KJ Hamler to an extent as a deep threat. Yeah, I like their weapons. I like that team a lot.
Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, Melvin Gordon catches 50 passes for
he's good
300-400 yards a year. It seems like. So I mean, that's not a bad bet. That's a bet I would really consider.
Sutton's 1,000-yarder. I would say Jerry Jeudy could break out and be 1,000-yarder.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the last one, and I think this is a lock. And this is one that I looked at and I was like, wow, don't understand how it's this high. This is Phillip Rivers at 4,249.5.
You're right.
That I look, and I know I've shit on Phillip Rivers on this pod, and I know you've protected him.
There is a chance that Phillip Rivers could do that with the weapons and the line at Indianapolis.
I look at Indianapolis. I look at the way they drafted. They took your guy Jonathan Taylor at the beginning of the second round for a reason.
Oh yeah, no,
with their first pick.
Yeah, he is not going to be asked to do that. Exactly.
They want to run the football. Look at their team. Look at the team in their own division. They know. We talked about the kind of teams that can beat the Ravens. The Colts are built to beat the Ravens.
Yeah,
I mean they are. They have the offensive line. They have the running game. They have a quarterback that is going to be really ultra accurate within 15 to 20 yards, and I mean he's going to handle the game very well. I do not see Phillip Rivers as a guy who's going to throw for over 4,000 yards.
I like him as a quarterback. I do.
Yeah.
He's not asked to throw for 4,200 though.
No, there's no way.
It's not a West Coast system. He's not going to have to be slinging it like that.
If the Colts are throwing for 4,200 yards, or if Phillip Rivers specifically is throwing for 4,200 yards, the Colts are not winning a lot of games. I'm putting it that way. I mean that
playing
just
from behind, yeah.
Exactly. So that's the last one I had for you guys. We're gonna keep that going. We're gonna keep some prop bets if you like it. I really like doing it. I think that's fun. We'll go through maybe running backs, wide receivers, stuff like that.
Of course,
that'll be fun. All right, so we're gonna end the show here. We're gonna talk about the top fives. Right? Do you want to go first? You want me to go first? I went first last week. You go first.
So offense.
You're doing
first.
offense, and I'll do defense.
Yeah. So I will go ahead and knock out my honorable mentions. These are the best. These are the top 5 offensive players for the AFC North. So. There's a lot of good names up in there.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was a little tough, not going to lie. There were some where it was kind of like, dang, it's kind of lacking here.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, Big Ben. I think for me, his last year, like I said before he got hurt, I'll reiterate it, that he was really good statistically. I think he's a leader of that team, a leader in the locker room, and I think it's one of those guys when you look at the AFC North, he was the king of it for a long time. Yeah. The crown has been passed. Doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve the honorable mention, though. The other one, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon constantly rushes for 1,200 yards and constantly gets no love on a really, really, really bad team.
Yeah. No, Joe Mixon, I'm surprised he's not on your list. I'm not going to lie.
Really bad team.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that.
The reason he's not on the list is just because some of these names with the team success in the system, they're
and
just
how they've played,
which gels right into my number 5 at Ronnie Stanley.
Yep.
He is a centerpiece for that Ravens offensive line. Their offensive line was one of the most dominant ones that we've ever seen in football, and they are coming back at it. The only one they lost was Marshall Yanda. It's going to hurt them, but they still have Orlando Brown Jr. and Ronnie Stanley holding it down. They're going to be good. They got it. It rolls right into my number 4 with Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is a guy who I think on another team is not as important as he is in this system, but the value that he brings to the Ravens through the passing game, through being able to throw a chip block on a run and still be able to catch a pass on a read option, to doing all the intricate stuff that he is. He's essential to it. And what was he PFF-wise? He's the third tight end or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was the second or third. He was up there.
Good.
Mark Andrews, I mean, he's not far off from the 49ers tight end.
I was about to say, do you put him up there with Kelsey and Kittle?
I think he's Kittle light is what I think he is. I'm not going to put him up there with Kelsey and Kittle yet because, I mean, Kelsey and Kittle have just been on another level.
I'm the same way.
But I mean, he is Kittle light. He does all the things that Kittle does, I feel like, on a regular basis. And he's not maybe quite as good. I don't think he's just as good of a pass catcher specifically. But, I mean, I think he's close. I think he can get there for sure.
I get that. Number 3, Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, that's
the talent is there.
I'm glad he's on
I love him so much, and I want to see him be able to get his yards, his catches, his everything.
Yeah.
He's worthy of it.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a down year last year, but as far as talent goes,
Yeah.
I mean, he's just unrealistically good. I mean, he's incredible.
Number 2, same team, Nick Chubb.
Yes.
He's a dog. PFF has him rated as the number 1 running back. Yes, that is higher than Zeke. That is higher than CMC. That is the number 1 out of the NFL.
Which I wouldn't put him there, but, he's still really, really good.
Regardless of the fact that it backs the thing saying that if Cleveland is going to do it, it's not going to be on Baker's arm solely.
No.
It's the way that their system works. It's how Nick Chubb is able to feast through the running game between the tackles, catch the ball, and he really doesn't get mentioned that much. When you think of a running back, and I'm one of them, I'm guilty to, I don't think of Nick Chubb.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more.
I had to have my
honestly.
eyes open to it statistically because, God, that dude is so good.
But he is so good, and he's such an incredible running back. I mean, just from every level. One of my biggest misses, I feel like, from a draft standpoint.
You didn't like Nick Chubb?
I was down on him. I really was. Yeah, I was down on Nick Chubb, and I truly one of my biggest misses. One
Because
of
of
the
the injury?
I don't know what it was. Maybe he was coming off an injury, and I just watched the wrong film.
It was a bad knee injury.
It was one of those things where I really came back and I watched. I went back and watched NFL film to see if I'm not crazy and if Nick Chubb is actually as good as everyone's saying he is. And then I went back and watched college to see what I missed. It was one of those things. Nick Chubb was a huge learning piece for me. He really was.
So number 1, without further ado, we all know who it is. It is the guy who is going to be competing for MVPs and Lombardis for years to come, Lamar Jackson. His versatility, his athleticism, his ability to throw down the field, which people doubted him. Mm-hmm. He is not just a running back. The guy is here to stay. The guy is going to be a legend, and we are always going to be talking about him. And he's going to get just how many does he get before it's all said and done, Lombardi-wise?
Lombardi-wise? I mean, if he gets 2, that's awesome, right?
Yeah. I'm saying
listen,
I truly think he's that good.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like we've seen the Patriots in their dynasty. Two Super Bowls is a lot.
Yeah.
We forget that the 7 or the 6 that Brady has.
You don't throw out 4. You don't ever say that.
Of course not. I mean, I look at Lamar. Yeah, I think 2 is
it's
realistic.
Lamar Jackson and
They're
Pat
gonna be good for a
Mahomes
long
league.
time.
Let's see where they take it.
Yeah, especially in the AFC. Yeah,
Yes.
I absolutely agree. I gotta ask, and I think I'm putting you in a bad spot.
Where's it coming?
Who's better?
Lamar Jackson or Pat Mahomes?
No, Lamar Jackson or Mike Vick.
Oh,
sorry.
Wow.
I threw me off
I thought
you knew what I was saying. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, I thought you were talking about Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes. Mike Vick.
You can say Mike Vick.
Mike Vick.
I disagree.
I'm an old head.
Yeah.
I do think that a system that is tailor-made for Lamar Jackson's success, while it is beneficial, it works, it can also be correlated to something like a Bill Belichick, Tom Brady thing where one rubs off on the other. This great does this great, and it helps. Mike Vick constantly did it by himself.
He did.
Constantly was in a pocket, not a designed read option run play. In a pocket, spins out, just the plays that he made, the athleticism.
So it's kind of crazy.
They're 1A, 1B, but Mike Vick is my 1A.
It's crazy to hear you say that because that's always been my argument on why Aaron Rodgers has been better than Tom Brady.
Oh, I get that.
From a talent perspective. Yeah, that's always been my argument is to see what Aaron Rodgers has done by himself, essentially, versus what Tom Brady's done in that system. Yeah, no, I can't argue with it. Lamar Jackson, he's always. I feel like that's one of those arguments that's always going to happen when you look at those two type of players because they're just so similar as far as skill set goes. And Lamar Jackson's in the perfect scheme. He's going to have the accolades, and he's probably going to last longer in the league because he's probably not going to put himself in as many bad spots and take as many hits because he doesn't have to. He has running backs to do that. He has tight ends. He has an entire system built around the fact that he can run, he can make plays, but he can also go down when the second he needs to. And this NFL is built for quarterbacks to do that more so than that NFL was.
For me, it's just the old head stance. Mike Vick.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree at all. I just felt like I had to ask. All right, so we got to go through my list. I did defense this week. My first 2 honorable mentions. Matt Judon from the Ravens. This is a guy who was a linebacker, defensive end, hybrid. Literally, I mean, in that Ravens defense, all he did was line up all over the field and blitz and do a lot of different things. But he popped off the film. He made so many plays.
First time Pro Bowler.
Yeah, first time Pro Bowler. And it's one of those things where it's like, was he a flash in the pan? Was he just getting lucky because he was in the right system? Maybe a little bit. Maybe that's a couple with the sacks words. But his talent shined through, and I thought it was awesome. Just a shout out to him. He took his his franchise tag, but what he did that not a lot of players would do is he actually took the difference between a defensive end franchise tag and the linebacker franchise tag. So it's different because usually the player would argue that
saved his team money.
Yeah. Usually the player would argue that he is whichever position makes him more money, right? Which was defensive end in this scenario, and he actually took the difference, which I thought was fair because he was not a true defensive end.
Well, I think he kind of likes the title of being able to do it all.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and at the end of the day, he was not a true defensive end, so to take that compromise, I felt like it was really fair for him and really cool. You know, granted, the franchise tag sucks, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so my next honorable mention, Denzel Ward. This is a dude, drafted in the top 5, I believe, at the cornerback position. But yeah, for the Browns, this is a dude who is going to be an absolute baller. I really believe that. He has not hit yet. He is not there yet. He struggled a little bit last year. I'll be perfectly honest, and he wouldn't belong on the top 5 list. I'm truly saying this. Watch out. He is going to get to that point. I would argue Greedy Williams was probably better than him last year. But he has the talent.
That's fair.
He has the fit, and I truly just say that because he got burned a couple times, and there was some bad play on film. But overall, he has the talent. He has all the physical ability in the world. I think he's going to get there, and I think in a couple of years we're going to be talking about him as one of the top cornerbacks in the league.
Love Denzel.
All right, at number 5, a newcomer to the division, Calais Campbell.
Oh, there it is.
Still a baller, still really good. This is a guy I had to go back and watch a little bit of film on. See, is he still there? I watched just a little bit of defensive film from the Jaguars last year. See where he was at. Yeah, he's still just throwing people around. It's ridiculous.
So how do you go from the age one thing and the age to another?
Dude,
Does he
I
just
get
break
it.
the mold?
Yeah, no, I think he breaks the mold.
Is it because he's 6'8", 300-something pounds?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's
a wall.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't matter how old he gets. At the very least, he'll still be just a wrecking ball
At
in the middle.
the worst, he can only digress.
Yeah, the worst, he's still going to be really big and really strong.
That gap,
yeah. So that's just one of those things. I get it. I am a little bit ageist at times against some of these players. But man, I mean, we already talked about that. Whatever. Yeah. All right, Marcus Peters. I got a couple of old guys here. I really do.
I like him. I think he should be higher.
Again, yeah, Marcus Peters, and I'm probably because he's a little bit older and he's digressing a little bit. And the other part of it is that he must be a locker room issue. Because there's nothing on film that says he should have been traded to from one team to another. He's been on 3 teams in 3 years. That's kind of surprising.
He had a few locker room issues.
Yeah, so that's surprising. I think they wanted to get him out of LA and out of that area because apparently that's been an issue. So he's still really good. He came to the Ravens, was just an absolute baller at the end of last year, and that's really what I'm basing this guy on. I mean, I just remember watching him last year, and he just popped off the screen every single time. Made so many plays for the Ravens. Won the Ravens a couple of games late in the year. He really did. He played great. Then another guy who was a top pick in the draft and had some issues on the field, technically, Myles Garrett is at number 3. And I feel like in any other year, Myles Garrett would probably be number 1. He has the talent to be number 1. He is like this surefire guy who's going to be a baller.
Because of the situation is where you have to put him down.
Yeah, and he only played, 4 or 5 games last year?
Yeah,
what was it?
Well, in essence, that hurts your team. It does.
Yeah, he did. He hurt his team, and I get it. I could not put him on this list, though. And I wanted to. I really looked. Could I put him on this list? I really thought about having him as an honorable mention. But if I look at it just from a truly realistic standpoint, yeah, he's one of the top 3 defensive players in that division.
Get him on my team any day.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's one of my favorite players.
He got hot-headed in one play. That doesn't make him a bad person. That doesn't make him anything other than just an emotional guy playing football.
Yeah, we all make mistakes.
It is what it is. Yeah, we're not going to hold him against that. So that is what it is. Moving on, Cameron Hayward. You want to talk about a guy who just throws people around in the middle of the defensive line? Then I don't know what. I think that's probably my favorite position just to watch. Just these guys that just absolutely wreck the middle of the field. I think
Cam Hayward is one of the most unknown, like your average NFL guy. I hope they know Cam Hayward.
I hope so too. You think he's unknown?
I don't hear about him enough. I really don't.
Cameron Hayward, one of the best defensive tackles in the league, and
he's
plays
not
for the
mentioned with
Steelers.
J.J. Watt.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, but it's because J.J. Watt has the sexier position, and there's a reason. J.J. Watt's my number 1. I guess we'll move right along.
No, I said J.J. You have T.J.
Oh, T.J. Watt. I'm sorry. T.J. Watt is my number 1 defensive player. A guy who I was banging the table when the Dolphins were picking. I wanted us to take T.J. Watt so bad, and we take a dude out of Missouri who busted out, whatever.
Who'd you take?
It was some dude. I don't even remember his name. We already traded him. That's how fast that went. T.J. Watt's been an absolute baller. I mean, he's been learning from his brother. He is. I mean, I would argue he's one of the top 3 defensive ends in the league at this point. I mean, I think he's right behind the Bosa brothers, honestly. I mean,
He's so good.
I know there's some other names out there that you could probably bring up that I would maybe say you're right on. He's in that conversation. He really is. TJ Watt is a ridiculous talent, and he plays the game. He's a complete player too, because he can rush the passer, but he can also play the run really well. And you don't want him.
I like him in stand-up coverage.
Yeah, exactly. I was
too.
gonna say you don't love him in space, but he can do it, and he can do it at a high level as well. You know, it's just not his best skill, but it's still a skill. But yeah, that's my list, guys. That's the top 5 defensive players in the AFC North.
No Marlon Humphrey.
I didn't
know Earl Thomas.
I know Earl Thomas again. He has declined. You can't tell me he hasn't declined. He has absolutely declined.
Derrick Henry put him under with that stiff arm too.
Yeah, absolutely. Marlon Humphreys. I get that. I probably could have put him on the list. Probably should have been honorable mention. Honestly, that's a good one. I skipped over him.
Here's a weird one. Geno Atkins.
Again, I think
he's a powerhouse in that division. He
absolutely
years.
is. He's been so good for so long, and another guy who I feel like has been underrated a little bit. Another defensive dude. I did skip over him a little bit. I just kind of I look at him as a guy who's kind of past his prime and not
I get that.
The best. His best play is behind him, I would say. Yeah,
that's fair.
Fair enough. Anything
else?
I got. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to the pod, hit that download button. Download this pod every single week so you can hear us. We got some big news for you guys. Stay tuned for that. We got a lot of great stuff coming for this pod. We're really excited. Thank you so much for listening, guys.
Thank you, guys. 7.
Peace.